Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Craft Conversations Winter Series. And today I have the instructors of the Textile and Apparel Program of the College of the North Atlantic, Susan Fernot and Stephanie Stoker. Before we start, I would like to read our land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the territory in which the Craft Council Gallery is located as the ancestral homeland of the Beothuk, and the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral homeland of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk. We would also like to recognize the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and Nunatukavut and the Innu of Nitassinan and their ancestors as the original people of Labrador. We strive for respectful relationships with all the people of this province as we search for collective healing and true reconciliation and honor this beautiful land together. Welcome. And before we start, I'm just going to ask that everyone mute their microphones during the presentation. The chat will be open throughout the presentation and I'll be looking at it. And I'm going to pass the word now to Susan Fernot, instructor of the Textile Program. Susan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm an instructor at the Textile and Apparel Design Program. Myself and Steph have a little presentation with mostly about the new curriculum and also people and things that how the program affects the industry, but it's fairly casual. So, if there's something you don't understand or you want me to elaborate more, by all means, go ahead. Some of this will be me and some will be Steph, but it'll be all pretty casual. Steph, do you want to? Steph is our technical person. So she's loading the.
I'm gonna share my screen in a minute. Yes, so I'm Stephanie Stoker, and I teach with Susan and Barry Buckle at the College of North Atlantic program. I head up sort of the weaving portion, as well as drawing design and color theory are my areas. And yes, I'm going to be Susan's technical assistant tonight. Thanks everyone for coming.
So I teach the surface design portion and fabric design, the hand knit and the felting. I also do craft history and art history as well. And Barry couldn't be with us tonight. There's 3 of us in the program, 3 instructors. Textiles. There's other people from the college, but we're the main textile people.
And then we have 2 amazing instructional assistants.
Absolutely.
Who round out the team and keep us honest. So yeah, we're well supported. I guess I will share my screen now and we will look at this beautiful PowerPoint that Susan and Sonia and Jen put together. Here we go. I'm going to do this correctly. You're going to tell me in a minute if I do it correctly.
Oh, there we go.
Woo!
There.
Okay.
Okay. So like I say, this will be fairly casual. So if you've got questions in the chat, just type them in there and Bruno is going to monitor the chat and answer any questions that you may have. So our curriculum changed. We did a curriculum review and some people who are here may actually have been asked to participate in that, because when they do a curriculum review, we actually go out to industry and ask people who are working in the industry or industry partners like the Craft Council Newfoundland and Labrador and the Department of Tourism. They changed the name so many times, I'm not going to even attempt it. But people like Brenda Stratton, who is the craft officer for the department, ECOA, people at the plantation. There's a lot of people that come together to discuss the needs of the industry and how the textile program can help support it, and how things change over years. There's also the craft strategy that was written. I think it was written in 2017, and that kind of guided it as well. So The last time it was reviewed was in 2007, and this one was implemented in 2019. So it was, you know, a fair chunk of time, 12 years. They usually like to review it every 10 years, but due to things going on, it actually was 12 years before this new one actually got implemented. So the program itself has been changed up to reflect the science and the technical aspects of fiber, with emphasis being put on exploration of technique and material. The semester is still broken down as it was before, for those of you who are familiar with the system of the setup. And for those of you who aren't, I'm going to go through each semester. Semester 1 is digital design fundamentals. And that is introducing people to how to manipulate photos, import, export photos into file, basic design with digital design programs, Adobe. Art history, fiber and fabric exploration. So that's the foundation of all your studio areas, that you learn the very basics. Some people come to our program and they've never actually threaded a needle. That has happened, amazingly, or they've never really had the opportunity to learn how to knit. And this fiber and fabric exploration gives them a little taste of everything with the science of the technique in there. And they actually have a exam based on the science of dye, chemistry, fiber, physics, those kinds of things at the end of the semester, so that when they go into their studio areas, they're well grounded into how fiber works and what is happening when they are working with the materials. They also do introduction to sewing, introduction to drawing, and elements of design and color theory. Steph, did you want to speak to those three areas?
I guess just basically, you know, we're going to go through each one of the semesters, you know, quickly, but every term the students are required to take drawing throughout the program. So they do 4 terms of drawing, and this is sort of seen as a really important foundation and a tool to help students sort of progress in how to create their own designs, create their own motifs, but also how to learn how to see things and represent them in their own way. So it's really an important part of the program. Elements of design as well. Students have to do 4 terms of design within the program, and that is another part of the entire concept that everything that a maker or craftsperson artist does needs to start in a design studio, needs to follow the artist process in design so that they're able to make decisions based on failures and successes, troubleshoot, be critical about their own work, so that they're constantly progressing and doing better and better and better. And then, of course, color theory, that's a one-term course, and that's basically just to introduce students to the concept of color theory, the science of color, how we see color, why we see color, so that then they can use that information to use color better throughout their work and understand why what they think they're going to see isn't what they actually end up seeing. So those are really important courses to really start the students off understanding the full umbrella of what goes into textile work.
And the final color theory project is actually brought into fiber and fabric exploration. So they do their final project using acid dyes so that they get a good foundation in how they can apply their theory of color in acid dyes. So it's all very integrated. So these, just to mention these photos, these are all images that students did, pretty much mostly in the new program. Some are older, but these are student images, which are quite lovely. Some of them, like this drawing, I haven't seen. So craft history is in semester 2, fabric design. So this is when we start our studio areas, and students start to specialize. So in fabric design, they're doing knitting, felting, and weaving. Surface design is surface manipulation techniques, surface stitching techniques, both, and they're doing rug hooking as well as work in the dye studio. So before we had 5 studio areas, now we're down to 3. We've also added a couple of things. We've taken out some older techniques that weren't pertinent anymore. And then there's apparel design, drawing, application, and principle of design. And again, all these studio areas, they work with the principles of design and the drawing application within the studio areas. So there's a lot of integration across the program. Steph, did you have anything there?
Not really. Just again, I'll just flip back. Hang on, can I flip back? I can flip back. Yeah. Just again about the design of the new program and our wish to, instead of sort of breaking all the techniques apart, and where students only get to learn, before they only got to major in 2 areas, we found that a lot of students were having a really hard time making the decision of what to choose, and we found a lot of times students, for the most part, wanted to be able to major in 3 studio areas. So by us sort of amalgamating them into the concept of how you create and design fabric, understanding the characteristics of fabric and fiber, and then what you do with fabric, such as surface design, and then another thing you do with fabric, which is apparel design. By doing it that way, we hoped, and we're seeing that students are able to choose their major a little bit more easily, because they're not losing access to all those other processes and techniques and materials, because they are because they are more integrated. So it's not just choosing one and forgetting about the others. It's all a lot more. It's all a lot more together, and we're seeing that students are really being able to transfer skill and knowledge between the processes a lot better than what we saw in the past.
So I see Jessica has a question there about the craft history portion. There wasn't a lot of changes made to the craft history portion, and that was not from lack of trying. We do, there is information about Canadian, provincial, and Indigenous craft. It is not the focus of the program. Our craft history program spans a long amount of time. And the curriculum is laid out so it spans right from everything is craft to contemporary craft. So because of that, we do talk about Canadian craft, we do talk about Indigenous craft. The art history program was also changed to reflect that. The other thing that is added in there is fashion and ethics, because that was something that I felt really needed to be myself and Steph and everybody on the team really felt that needed to be in there, because most universities are starting to have that as their own course. And this craft history course, while it is a good one, and you've taken it, and there wasn't a whole lot of textiles in there, but now the way I'm teaching the class is that if there is a more emphasis on textiles, we do talk about the other craft areas, because we have to, but I try to make a stronger emphasis on textiles themselves. And the course itself is designed as an introduction. When people are going off to other institutions, degree granting institutions, for example, this course is just something that we can't, they don't get a credit for it because it's just too long. I mean, it's too long a time span. It's not specialized at all. It's just something to get people interested in the history of craft and to know where their work falls, so that they can discuss how their work, either be it in contemporary craft practices, arts and crafts period practices, or you know, even in some of the art history practices. So we also talk about craft-based art versus fine craft-based art versus fine craft, and those differences. And everybody gets to you know, looks at their own definition and looks inside themselves to kind of, you know, figure out where they fall on the in the whole conversation. And you know, and I think that the new curriculum does that, and I think that's, you know, what's important for our students just starting off, because they are, some of them, you know, yes, some of them do have some background in craft, but we're finding, you know, a lot of them do not, and they don't understand, and this is a sort of a course that gives them a good grounding and what craft is and where their work would fall or where their interest lies. Okay, intercession. So intercession, I think I'll get Steph to talk about this because I'm not usually around during intercession. I'm working in my own studio. So I'll let her take that on.
Okay, so basically in the program we have 2 sets of full semesters, semester 1, semester 2, and then semester 4 and 5. So semesters 3 and 6 are intersessions, and they're half the amount of time, but double. So if you have a 3-hour course, you actually do 6 hours a week. So it's a compressed semester. And it's 6 to 8 weeks long, so it's very quick. And in the first intercession, the students work alongside Barry Buckle, who's our sewing instructor or apparel construction garment instructor, and they work along with him through a group project in basically understanding the steps to create a product, and different production methods. And then, and for those of you who've taken the courses, you can chime in and tell me if I've forgotten anything. And then they do writing for the arts. So basically that is an opening to students of how to write specific art-based pieces, whether it's your bio, your artist statement, also how to use certain terminology, and to make sure that your writing is coming to a place where you could potentially in the future create written documentation to go along with your work. And in the new program, not a lot changed within Intercession 1 because it is so packed and there was already so much in there. But it gives another side to what we're doing in this idea of production method, as opposed to thinking about one-off couture or art pieces. The students get to go through the process of working together and creating a piece, and how it would go through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, sort of in a production line. So yeah, that's Intercession 1, and so that is for the first years. Graduates, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so semester 4 is when people really get into the nitty-gritty of it all. So semester 4 is actually, as you know, the second year September semester, and students get to select what they want to do for their studio areas. So they select 2 from the list. Then they also have to take the professional development courses, entrepreneurial studies, art marketing, intermediate drawing, application of design theory. So what is usually happening, bulk of our students do take apparel, and then one other area, and then sometimes we'll get a student who's not interested in apparel at all, but for the most part, a lot of students go to apparel and then they take one other area. The entrepreneurial studies, that's taught by people in the marketing department at the college. Art marketing replaces the old portfolio development And what that entails is online marketing, website design, very basic website design, photography, learning about coming up from the skills that they learned in digital design fundamentals, a little bit of social media, and documenting work, which is something that's really important for most students and most artists. So we talk about, the photography and different types of photography, fashion photography, product photography, all those things. And at the end of they do their artist statements, studio shots, all kinds of things so at the end of the class, they have a package of online content to, start them off on their way. And then again, it's the intermediate drawing and application of design theory, and it's applied design throughout the studio areas. So the students are working on design projects, but they're also working in, for example, surface design. Their final projects and their weekly projects are brought into design, application of design theory as well, so that we're sure that they've got a good, strong handle on design. Semester 5, which is the winter semester, which we're into now, proposal writing. So that is taught by the communications department at the College of the North Atlantic. And it talks about writing proposals, grant applications, proposals for exhibitions, and Tara takes the information from real life applications, so that they have the knowledge of how to actually write a good grant application, or an application to the Kitty Vitty plantation, where a lot of our students move on to after they graduate. And there's advanced drawing and application of design theory too. In their studio areas, this is the time when they are working on their self-directed study. So all the students have different wants and desires for where they're going to end up after graduation. So this is their time to explore those areas. Some people explore production lines. Some people explore fashion lines. Others want to be one of a kind, fine craft artists that display in galleries. And so they have a good grounding in where they want to go, so that when they leave, they can launch off if they want to. Project coordination is the beginning of them organizing their final exhibition and fashion show, and that is changed up a little. I think it was called special missions or special project before. Now it's project coordination, and it is very guided by the students and what it is they want for their show, and how they want it to look. And it's the beginnings of the partnership with the other groups in the college, such as the journalism, the graphic arts department, and to create the show, whatever it is, if it's live in person in pre-COVID times, or if now it's a fashion show that is recorded and promoted on YouTube. So they're in the throes of that now, looking at other fashion shows that are happening during COVID and seeing how they can apply it to their own work. And intersession 2, that's when they're actually creating their final work. So Steph is the person who works with Barry Buckle to coordinate the fashion show and the gallery show with Bruno, who at the Craft Council. So Steph, did you want to talk about that?
Sure. The final intersession, so this is while the first years are doing their production sewing courses, and with Barry, I work with the second year group, so they've just come out of their final independent study term. And they've been working with Susan, trying to develop and understand ways of exhibiting their work, which, last year and this year is quite exciting because it's completely different than what we used to do. And it's been really great, actually. Sometimes you get stuck in a way that you do something and then the world turns upside down and you come up with new and exciting new interpretations of what it can actually be. And I think that's been really great for the students. As uncomfortable as it may be, it really comes, it really makes students figure out how to, again, troubleshoot and how to use the skills that they've learned throughout all of the program to roll with what the reality is. So in the last intersession, I work closely with Bruno at the Craft Council, and we help the students work through their concept of how they want their final work, their body of work, to be exhibited. Traditionally, it was a gallery show, and the gallery show used to actually be at the Anna Templeton Center. A couple years ago, we moved it out of the Anna Templeton Center and started our closer partnership with the Craft Council. And we actually started using their walls and having a professional show launched at the Craft Council Gallery, which was an incredible experience for the students because they had to be professionals. They had to walk into the gallery being a professional. They had to be within the gallery as a professional. And their work had to have a certain level of professionalism in order to be on those walls. So it was a really, really amazing process for the students. And then we used to also do a fashion show, sort of a traditional fashion show. Last year, of course, we did not do that. We came up with another way, which was through photography and video, and the journalism program again helped with that, which was, again, students learning how to ask for help and work with another group to get the result that they need, and understanding all the different steps that are involved with that. And then they get to see their work exhibited in a professional manner. Last year, we got to do a website, which was really phenomenal because it meant that a lot of students, families who would never be able to see their work, were able to access it through the internet, go to the website, look at the work, and now we have a better archive of what our students are doing. And we even had some third-party shares, different galleries and what have you, did shares of the website that the Craft Council created for us. And so we had a huge group of people, population of people able to see the work of our students. So it's really, really phenomenal. And hopefully at the end of all of these terms and semesters and intercessions, the students are ready to muddle through being a maker, craftsperson, artist. They always have access to us after the program to an extent. The last term is a mentorship program term, where they work with us and we just help them, guide them, give them feedback. So by the time they graduate, most of them are quite comfortable in locating us and asking us for more feedback and more support, which we're usually, we're pretty happy to do, because the first year, regardless of how amazing a student is, the first year out is pretty intense. And sometimes it even is the second year out when the students start to actually build themselves as a professional craftsperson. So yeah, we think it's a pretty solid program these days. Click on some examples here. Susan, you want to talk to that, these images?
This is the work from a project that we do in the art marketing. What this is one of the photography projects that I get students to do so that they learn about photography as a way about color, composition, all the things that are important in product photography, but they use fruit because I don't want them to be worried about the product. I want them to be worried about the photograph. So some of the photos that actually come out of these are quite spectacular, like this one from Andrea Penny. And this, it helps students understand the principles of photography and how to get a great photo without, having to worry about their product. Is this product good enough? It's taking the product right out of the shot and just talking about the raw composition and color and how to take a good shot on a white background, which is really important, and something that they use throughout their time as a craftsperson or an artist. And that's one of the things about the program. We offer real life experiences, and we are conscious of, yes, they're in school right now, but it's really important for us to make sure that they have all the tools necessary so that when they leave, they can jump right into, the art and craft world, with a really good foundation, because it's great to have all these great technical skills and try a whole pile of things, but a lot of the times I find that in the old program, it was just too much. There wasn't enough time to think and reflect. They were always jumping to the next thing. So now we have this, we're really back to basics and allowing people to think about, what's happening and why it's happening. So this is some work by, this was the first year that the students graduated from the new program, was last year's students. This was Deb Lee's work. Deb Lee, you may have seen her in one of the other earlier craft conversations. This is her piece. It's a combination of felting and machine knitting. We do machine and hand knit, and felt as well now in fabric design. This was Sydney White. So we also embrace the traditional. Sydney came from the prairies to attend our program, and she wanted to be a Ravelry designer, which she now is working towards. But her work is very traditional. She came up with all the patterns herself, which, but it is, we still embrace the traditional. This was a hand knit as well. Sydney did both machine and hand knitting. Now, this is an older piece because this was machine knit and, the traditional knitting, both machine and hand. We also welcome installation work. And this was a piece that Crystal Randall did that was machine. I think this one was machine knit, and it was a chair that was planted with seeds so it would grow. So Crystal had a background in fine art and wanted to explore craft. So she did a lot of installation work. And so we're not only about, the traditional usable craft, we're also about, experimental work as well. Steph, did you want to speak to this?
Sure. So within the program, we teach weaving a few different ways. This is the work of Claire Baker, Claire Dawn, as she was known as a craftsperson for quite a bit. She worked a lot on the loom. She was actually weaving, I think this piece she actually wove in first year, which is quite exceptional. She hand wove on the loom this twill here, and then she constructed the bunting bag out of it. She was really all about using natural materials as well as traditional materials to Newfoundland, being able to source her materials from here. So we also help, and we help encourage as well as help students figure out ways to integrate the types of materials that are important to them on the whole. So if a student wants to be able to create work using materials from the island or from their own culture, then we do try and assist as best we can so that when they leave the program, they know how to find these materials and how best to use them. And so this is what Claire was doing here. And then on the bottom one, this is just her playing with I feel like that's just modified twill. She's playing with her bead back. And so again, we teach really technical aspects of weaving, like um, all of our processes, but we also really encourage students to play with it and find a way to make it theirs and to find their voice through the techniques. And I guess I'll talk to this one too. This is Shahid Rajput. She graduated a couple years ago, and she did a lot of work. We teach the students how to analyze their own fabrics and how to design their own drafts as well. And she also wanted to learn dye process called ECAT. So I spent some time with her teaching her basic ECAT so she could play with color. She created pretty well all the fabric for her work that term, except for what she did, I think, in quilting. So this is just a little sample piece that she did playing with color and manipulation of ECAT technique. And this is Jillian Reed. This jacket, Jillian actually wove the fabric for it. So she had to weave off yardage and make sure that the mistakes were to a minimum, because of course she needed quite a bit to be able to make this, but then she also learned the really great skill of how to be able to sew a hand woven fabric, which can be a little finicky depending on your structure. And so, yeah, this was a design that she sampled and did different variations of color and value with to make this very, very beautiful blazer here. And Susan, you can go into that. My lights are playing dance party again. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. I keep thinking the power's going to go. This is Tara Hayes. She was another graduate from last year. So Tara wanted to really experiment and play with color. And this is her natural dye samples. She did so much sampling. Like, it was just amazing the amount of samples that she did. And that's one of the things, if students come and sometimes they don't know what they want to create in their final semester, and they really just want to play, and that's fine too, because the amount that you can learn from the sampling and the documentation, it's a lot more learning if she had took place for Tara than if she had just dyed one garment with red and moved on. And she also did a lot of work with screen printing as well with natural dyes. This is Sonia Koch. Sonia is now our IA. So when she graduated, she came and stayed with us. This is traditional with a contemporary spin. This is silk thread on recycled denim. And this is another piece of Tara's work. This was first year work. It's a block printing with natural dyes on linen. And this was sort of the piece that kind of spurred her on to do all the other samples that she did in second year. She was so pleased with this fabric. This is process shots. So we really encourage the students to take process shots of their work, not only for marketing and the art marketing portion of but also because it's a good record. And it's interesting to see. And so this is Terry Swain. These are earrings. Terry was also a great photographer, so some of her pictures were excellent. But Terry liked to play a lot with how denim frayed. She did a lot of dyeing, and just a lot of playing. And this is a great process shot. So this is our fashion section, and as I say, Barry Buckle is the instructor for apparel. Students come with all kinds of skill levels in apparel, from some that, again, have never sat in front of a sewing machine, but really want to do a fashion line, and some that have some, skill and background. This is Tucker Ellis. Tucker graduated a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, I guess, and then came back for a third year. And in the third year, Tucker went to, with Barry, they went up to Fashion Week in Vancouver, Tucker as a student of the college. And this is one of the pictures from the Fashion Week in Vancouver. They have a really good program there, a mentor program for students, and Tucker had a great time. This is Jennifer Cake. This is our other IA. This is some of her fashion, you know, comfortable, everyday comfort, but with some elegance. As this made with a niche rayon fabric. This is James Kelly. This was a piece that was a partnership with Benji Kane. Benji Kane is a local artist in St. John's, and Benji painted the fabric and James created the work. This is very much James' work. And he's now down at the plantation creating and working on his fashion line. So these are some people who have graduated from her program who have now are now working in the industry. There are many, many, many. Jessica McDonald is one who's here this evening, but there's many, and we just highlighted some here that work not only as artists, but also work as industry support, I guess. So Chantel Anderson was one, Bruno, who's here tonight, Erica Jane Daw, who is with Rodney Philpott Designs and Salt, Kara Parkin, who's with Carolyn's Children Designs, and Scott Kosh, who is the marketing director now of Studio Magazine. And this is Pascal Horan from Pinpoint Inc. And Morgan Parnham from Treeline Crafts. So she's also working in mentoring programs herself now, and is, you know, supporting emerging artists through sales in her store in Bonavista. Vista. And there's many, many more, but that's it. So there's our us and our emails. If anybody has any follow-up emails about the program or anything that we've talked about or whatever. Steph, did you want to say anything?
No, I think, I mean, that was a pretty, pretty, good coverage of everything that we do. If anyone has any, I guess, questions in the last few minutes here, I guess I'll stop sharing my screen now in case anyone wants to have a go.
I'd like to thank both of you for presenting that to us and explaining a little bit of the difference between the old curriculum to the new curriculum and how you guys are actually moving the craft industry standards into the program and how you're moving that forward with all the digital technology that craft is using these days and introducing craft-based art into the curriculum. So that is fantastic. And yeah, we open the floor for any questions from anyone that is joining us here today. If you want to turn on your camera or your mic, you can speak up or you can just type on the chat.
See, we answered all the questions in our presentation. That's what happened.
I always think people are like students and they're gone off now. They're not even there.
There's a couple of congratulations coming up on the chat. Christian is saying great presentation. Thanks for sharing. Jen is saying thanks everyone, great talk, and thanks for all the work in the community. If we don't have any questions, I would like to immensely thank the presenters here today, everyone that participated tonight in this craft conversation. Keep an eye out on our YouTube channel. These conversations will be posted there. So if you feel that you need to revise it in order to ask some questions, the email for the college is in there, and you can send directly email to them. You can also send an email to the gallery if you have any questions, and we'll forward that to each of the presenters. We also would like to say that in the YouTube channel, there is all the conversations that happened before today and all the conversations that will happen after. And our next conversation will be with Michael Flaherty, all the way down from, please someone help me out here. Where is Michael now?
Port Union.
Port Union.
Thank you. And he's going to be talking about where he got his inspiration from and how his work has been shifting throughout the years, both in process and in materials that he's using. So thank you, Susan. Thank you, Steffi. Thanks the college for allowing us to be here today presenting this. And thanks to everyone that came tonight. Have a great evening, everyone. And I see you in the next craft conversation.
Thank you.
Bye.